and we're just pleased to have in our studio. Well, no, we're gonna have a call in. Keisha Jackson, Air Force veteran and family caregiver, and our studio guest, Rhonda Poindexter-Winton, medical professional in vascular medicine and one of four family caregivers for her late father, Korean War veteran, Army veteran, Clarence Poindexter. And we just love all of our folks that are doing that. Also, we have panelists calling in, Keisha Jackson, Air Force veteran, and also a family caregiver. And we are just pleased to have them. The YouTube audio, the integration of African American soldiers in the Korean War. This is just so interesting.
The beginning of a new era for African Americans in the U.S. Armed Forces. Just like everything else at the time period, the Army was also segregated. However, during the Korean War, the Army desegregated. This was because they were low on reinforcements and they were forced to call on blacks for extra forces. The officials realized that the blacks could fight just as well, if not better, than the whites. So they decided to desegregate the U.S. Armed Forces. At the beginning of the Korean War, about 100,000 blacks fought for the Korean Army. However, by the end, 600,000 blacks had fought. Of those 600,000 blacks, 5,000 of them passed away due to the war. This was their first chance to prove themselves, and many of them did. Many blacks got various medals, such as the Medal of Honor, the U.S. Army's highest decoration, and the Medal of Distinguished Service.
That is just amazing, of course, that so much was given for that war by African Americans, and we're just so pleased to have the givers that have done so much. Keisha, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mr. Kelly. How are you?
Good, Keisha. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you and the things that you have done. Air Force veteran and family caregiver. Talk to us a bit how that went.
My caregiving experience, it came after my last few years in the military, Air Force, and I got a call to care for my mom who had, I found out that she had terminal lung cancer, and she was in Philadelphia. I was stationed at the Pentagon. I wound up going there to and found out that it was terminal, but through the grace of God, I was able to get her to Virginia, moved her in with me, and was able to care for her there until the time of her passing.
Wow! So you were able to be there. How did that make you feel? What was the situation exactly?
Well, it's always mixed emotions, especially you never want to lose someone, but at the same time, it's the pride that comes along with it. That
sure,
it's my mother, and to have that honor to be able to care for my mother because she brought me into the world. And so the roles completely reversed. I was responsible for bathing her and changing her and washing her and feeding her. So it was bittersweet, but I was so grateful that I was able to be able to do it.
Sure, I'm sure you were. Also, we have in our studio, that is, our studio guest, Rhonda Poindexter-Winton, medical professional in vascular medicine and one of four family caregivers for her late father, Korean War veteran Clarence Poindexter. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Tell us about this situation with your dad.
Well, first of all, in giving honor to my dad, he was a very, very proud military veteran. He served in the Korean War, and he was always mentioning that and always mentioning how his experiences shaped his life. And he was very, very proud, very, very proud. When he became, in the latter years, started to have some issues with his health. The only place he wanted to go for care was the Veterans Hospital.
VA.
So we all sort of rallied around him and supported him in doing that. And he would just go to regular routine visits. You know, he didn't really have major medical issues at all, thank God, until very close to the very end, we found out. But I have to say, what meant so much to him as a veteran was going there not only to see his doctor, but to see other veterans. So we were, of course, you know, we had to help him do that because that was his life. That was what he needed, and that was what he wanted.
You know, that is something. And I think everybody, I think all of us, the same thing. You know, I've got friends that I certainly will always know. You know,
Absolutely.
as long as we're still around.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah. It makes a big difference. Do we have an audio, YouTube audio?
We played already.
Oh, you played? Oh, okay. The things. I just wonder about the situation with how many of, and I'm not sure. Maybe one of you can help me with it. I don't know how many how many people are left from that. We're going back.
Not many.
Yeah.
Not many. I mean, he's lost a lot of friends, and I think that was part of it. Going to the VA was a way that, even though these were people that he didn't know, but they knew each other because they bonded through their experience.
Exactly.
So whether they served, didn't really matter to him what war they served in. He would just I think being, that was a healthy connection, being able to connect with fellow, you know, veterans. So yeah, there aren't very many. My dad happened to be one of the first African Americans who was part of an integrated unit in the Korean War. Before there were white units and there were black units and they were separate, and he became he was one of the first ones to be in an integrated unit, and so he's very proud of that. Yeah,
that is something. Yeah, what about that, Keisha?
Yeah, I think it's great, and it's very commendable to always talk about and to show respect and the love and the admiration for those, for me being a military person and a veteran, a retired veteran, for those who helped pave the way. And my father also was he was in the Army, and he was in the Korean conflict. He didn't talk a lot about it. Every once in a while he may mention something about one of his friends, but it was something that he really did not talk a lot about.
Well, you know, I think that's interesting you said that, because I've heard other people say the same thing. And you wonder what those extremes are, because as you mentioned just now, you know, some talked about it, some didn't. And I don't know whether that's because of the experience itself or the fact that people just react to different ways. It's going to have an effect one way or the other, that's for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. One way, it's how you react to it that is different with some people than it is others. Yeah.
My dad was part of that Korean conflict specifically.
The conflict,
he was part of the conflict. And I think talking about it was helpful to him. So I think that was probably therapeutic because he talked about it a lot, the good and the bad. So that's, I think, just what he needed, you know, as far as that goes.
Yeah, it probably different people react a different way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's true. The what has happened? What's been the reaction, Keisha, with your family? Have others in the family become involved, other than, you know, other people other than yourself and others?
Well, on my dad's side, my dad was one of he had several brothers that went into the military as well, and so as a whole, it was something that they were very proud of. All of them did time in the Army. In my family, I went into the Air Force. My older brother went into the Air Force, so it was a tradition that we're also very, very proud of, to be able to serve our country. almost like nothing greater that you can do. But I think maybe one of the reasons that my father did not talk about it as much is because when he did talk about it, he talked about some of the things that he saw, and they were very painful to him, and they were very hurtful for him. And then, as Dr. Poindexter even mentioned, with her father being a part of the first integrated unit, to be over there fighting for a country and then to come back into your home, and then the very people that you were helping to fight to protect and for may not have received you. So I don't know if that was some of the reason as well, but it was a very touch and go subject. But with him, but again, as you were saying, in terms of my family, we've been very proud of the service of my father and the other family members as well.
When you really think about it, and this happens to be February is African American History Month. And when you think about some of the things that so many of our veterans have been through, have gone through, and the things that Keisha was mentioning. What about you on that, Rhonda?
Well, I can say that my dad also, Keisha, I do commend you for your service as well, first and foremost. And in addition to that, I definitely agree with you because my dad felt the same way. And there were some head nodding. There was a lot of head nodding sometimes when he would talk about it. And he said exactly, almost to the word, the letter of what you just said, is that he fought for this country and came back, and it was as if they had not. I mean, their lives were not only on the line, but they lost a lot of lives in that particular conflict. And he suffered some injuries. I mean, he had a couple of Purple Hearts and a bronze and a this and a, he had like 6 medals. And while proud of it, he also said, it was quite shameful to come back to the country. And there was still all of this racial divide and all of that. And he wasn't very happy about that.
Yeah. And with that, my dad was also wounded as well. He was shot in his leg. It didn't affect him. The bullet was taken out, but he was shot as well.
I tell you, it makes you think. That's for sure. And one thing, and I probably shouldn't be talking about this now, but it is it is African American History Month. One of the things that gets me is that cemetery over on the southeast side of Chicago where they wouldn't bury black soldiers for so long. And now they even have a area there where there are soldiers that fought for the Confederacy. And that just there's no other way to put it, pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because at one time, they wouldn't even bury black people.
Yes.
Even after black folk, because they didn't live there, but even after they you know what I'm talking about. They moved in all around.
I know.
So, that sort of thing is just, it bugs you.
It's disheartening.
Yeah, it is disheartening. And then thank goodness you do have, for people who recognize it, that huge statue on 35th and King Drive, because you had African American soldiers fighting with other units because they couldn't participate with American soldiers.
Precisely.
There's the French soldiers. The French had them. They won all kind of medals, but not for the Americans.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is totally ridiculous. But we have to get past that, which America's Heroes Group and everybody else, you ladies, and it's just great that we've gotten, if not past it, I can't say past it because I wouldn't be thinking what I'm thinking right now.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
You know what I'm saying. But it's a situation where we have contributed and will continue to.
Right.
Yeah.
It's part of our history. I mean, it's
That's
important.
Right. That's right.
It's important to know about it. It's important to be empowered by it, actually,
Mm-hmm,
because it gives us some place to go, and that should be forward.
What else, Rhonda, would you like to mention?
Well, about, I think as I mentioned, I think the the care that we give particularly our heroes, our veterans, and being our parents, or if they're other relatives or even friends. I think it's really important, because I think there's something something that they get, some of the pains that they get post-war or post-service, is that they are kind of left behind in general, they feel. And so when you are ill and when you need care, when you need help, I think it's really important that they get that.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
I think that so many wouldn't have anything if they didn't have the VA hospitals.
Right.
And in terms of family, we all know that, that's almost an inherited thing. And caring for a family member who has been in that situation can sometimes be a little different than in other situations, because they have a little history that those of us who have not served have. And I think you can agree with that, Keisha. So I think it's important to just remember them, never forget them, care for them, love them, give them all that we can, particularly when they're going through a very rough time, such as a later in life or a health issue.
Yeah.
And they need care and support.
Absolutely. I think the VA has really improved a lot.
Oh, yeah.
For that. But when you have family care, that makes a hell of a difference. Being an Air Force veteran, if you're a vet, obviously you know more than a lot of other people would. It makes a difference. And with your background and so forth, Rhonda, it really does make a difference.
I think so.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
I believe it did.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else we need to know? Rhonda?
I can only say that I'm honored. Like I said, I'm honored, and I'm happy that I was able to contribute. My siblings were huge contributors prior to me moving back to Chicago, which was about 3 years prior to.
I'm sorry.
Let Keisha close it out.
Okay. Prior to my father's passing, and prior to my moving to Chicago, they were huge caregivers. My brother and my two sisters. One of my sisters actually she and her husband lived in the same house, so they were. That was very, very tough on them. So I can say that even those caregivers who are giving the majority of the care often need support. So we supported each other.
That's great.
Yeah.
Keisha?
Yes.
Close us out.
Well, I just want to thank Dr. Poindexter for her time today to come to share about her father. And also, I wanted to mention, in addition to it being African American History Month and American Heart Month, it's also February the 21st is National Caregiver Day. And on National Caregiver Day, it is when not only is family caregivers are recognized, it's also honoring and recognizing those that are in the profession, such as Dr. Poindexter.
National Caregiver Day is when?
It's the third Friday in every February, so February the 21st.
Okay.
Good to know.
You will keep referring to Doctor.
No. I don't want any of that. No, please.
She
No,
said
please.
she is not working today.
No, I don't want.
But
I just want to keep focus on away from anything that I do professionally, and just keep the focus on why we're here, and that is to, and that way there's no confusion. Oh no, it's okay. And it sounds like you're not feeling too good, so so I don't want to strain you on that one, but to stick to just the idea that we're here to basically talk about the heroes and their caregivers.
Okay.
So because they come in all fashions. I mean,
well,
anything.
we are certainly
everything.
pleased, though,
Yeah.
with what you have done doctor and continue to
Well,
do.
no,
Okay. All right.